Hello everyone, my name is Jaime Perez and welcome to a brand new episode of my podcast. Today I'm going to be talking about something that I think a lot of us might be familiar with, and that is the act of ghosting people, or more or less being ghosted yourself. Now, for me personally, I have been both ghosted and I have been the person who has committed that action. I am not innocent of anything. And for those of you who don't know, before I go into my little tangent, ghosting is the act of completely cutting off communication with someone as for kind of different reasons. Maybe you don't want to talk with them. Maybe you don't feel comfortable with them anymore. Maybe they're just not as interesting as you thought they'd be. But nevertheless, you end up cutting off all communication at the end of the day. For me personally, when I was ghosted, which was a couple of times, I felt, at first it was a couple of stings because I had never experienced that before in my life. Someone just completely dropping me at a moment's notice. But over time, I kind of grew used to it. Not that that's a good thing. You shouldn't get used to people completely ignoring you. That can be pretty unhealthy. But it hasn't happened enough times for me to get offended or more or less to feel damaged, emotionally damaged by it. And so when it happens nowadays, I just kind of say, it's a way of life, gotta move on, maybe find someone new. Now, the thing I feel the worst about is when I actually do it. And for some godforsaken reason, it happens so often for me, where I find someone, very interesting person, having great conversations, right? Having a great time. But then you lose interest. As bad as it may sound, you just become bored. And that happens to me way too often. And I don't know why that happens. We share similar interests. We get to talk. We get to communicate. But it doesn't feel like anything. And it feels like just a constant repeated cycle. And so that's why I do it. I do it because I use it as sort of a defense from the boredom, to pretend that I don't have a boring life, to sort of maybe mask my own insecurity about whether or not I'm an interesting person, right? But nevertheless, I feel guilty. I feel guilty that I do such a thing to people. I feel bad when someone does it to me. Even if it's just the slightest bit of, insult that I feel, I still feel it. But, I think it just needs to be addressed that when you ghost someone, if of course it's not a good thing to do for you or the person who's going to end up being, left. But at the same time, I think that there are some justifications that we use that makes us think that that's okay. Imagine if we were in public, right? We're talking to a stranger, we meet them, having a great conversation, and then at the blink of an eye, you just turn around 180 degrees and walk away, pretend you never talk to them again. They're calling out for you, hey, we were just having a conversation, no? No, you just kept walking, you just ignored them, you blocked them out. That's kind of what that is, And I kind of needed to talk about that because I've done it to someone who I was having a great time talking to, but then I don't know what goes in my mind. I just get bored. I just get, I don't feel comfortable anymore, I guess, forcing myself to try to appease to their interests. And I think, of course, the more mature way would to, of course, be, hey, I don't think this is working out. That's the way people need to go in every circumstance. But I haven't done that. And I don't know why. I think it's just a fear of being mean. But little do I know, it's even more mean to be someone who just leaves others in the dust. You know what I mean? I think that us as a society, it's not only me who has this issue, it's a lot of other people. We have people who just completely leave things and don't turn back. And it's toxic. It's something bad. I've made it a personal goal of mine to just try my hardest at not doing it anymore. I need to build my confidence. I need to build up my own willpower to go and say and represent myself and tell them, hey, I'm done talking with you. And that's okay. Don't feel the need to have to ghost someone because you're afraid of what their feelings will be. Ghosting someone, and I can assure you, 10 times out of 10 is going to be worse, I don't know why I added a T there, than going and explaining to them why you just don't want to talk anymore. And that's a lesson I've learned, a lesson that I'm still learning, and a lesson I think a lot of people need to begin to consider to really become effective communicators, to really become people who can speak in whatever circumstance and be a functioning member of society. Because over text, you can get away with a lot of different things, right? You can get away with ghosting someone without any harm, especially if you meet them on something. But in real life, imagine you're at a work circumstance, right? Your boss is texting you, and because they stress you out, you ghost them. You don't talk to them. Not that would happen very often, that it's an issue, but it's a possibility. You just become so socially inept that you have to end up doing something like that. People all have their own circumstances for doing something like ghosting, and they can all have their own justifications. But my opinion on the matter is that I have become a worse communicator because of it. I have become someone who is just not as effective at communicating as I like to be, because I just feel the need to do that in order to not hurt people's feelings. And I think what we need to do as a society as a whole to really improve and understand our communication in our forms of speaking to one another is to really begin to practice new approaches to just, if you want to end the conversation, just end it right then and there and tell them why. People need an explanation to bring them peace of mind, even if they're the most cold-hearted, tough-skinned person. They're going to want to know why you emotionally stopped caring about them. It's just human nature. And I think that we need to do a better job at being able to work upon that. I'm trying to do a better job. I'm trying to learn to this day how to improve. And I think that a lot of people also need to take those steps, because at the end of the day, I've learned that you can't just run away from a circumstance. You can't just block it out and expect it to just go away on itself. No, they're going to be waiting. People are very persistent, and they're going to be waiting. And so I think that ultimately at the end of the day, we need to work on something that is a challenge for us, and that challenge is just working on our communication. We need to improve how we talk to one another, whether it's in real life, whether it's through social media, whether it's through anything. I need to improve in it, but I've noticed that a lot of people also need to improve on it. So that's why I felt the need of going on this tangent on my podcast. But besides that, I just wanted to briefly apologize for not being able to upload yesterday. I did have an episode in line, but after listening to it, I didn't think that I would be really providing the content I seek to be providing on this podcast show. It was kind of more just filler to be uploading every day. So of course I wouldn't want to do that. I don't have a set in stone schedule. I'll be uploading as I please, as ideas come into my mind. And you just have to keep an eye out for when I do so. When you see a new episode coming up, when you decide to subscribe to my channel, you'll see episodes, hopefully at least one per week. I can guarantee that. But nevertheless, thank you for listening in to another episode of my podcast. If any of you have any suggestions, any ideas, please be sure to send them to me. I'm happy to talk about a lot of different things that do pertain to my lifestyle and I can provide a justified opinion for. And if I don't agree with what you have to and if I don't agree with the topic that you send in, I'm gonna ghost you. And I'm just kidding. I'm gonna make sure to try my best to just communicate with everyone, improve on that factor, and be a better person for myself and for those around me. Thank you, and have a great day.